Hi, Teresa. I'm so glad that you are here. Thank you for sharing space with me and your willingness to share your story today.
Thank you, Terry. I'm really happy to share all my experiences with the Buteyko Method.
So before we get into the training part, you are a certified Buteyko breathing specialist. So can you share with us your personal story before you began studying the method?
I was really ill and I had epilepsy as a child and the seizures were getting worse. So the doctors discovered that there was something physically wrong with the brain, and in between getting my surgery and just waiting for the surgery to happen, I was losing my mind with my seizures. And I was researching various alternative techniques to help me. And I came across the Buteyko. I'd always had faith in breathing techniques, but the Buteyko method seemed to ring truest for me. And I decreased my seizures from 7 or 8 every day to maybe 1 a day. The problem never went away because it had a physical cause, but at least it kept my brain safe in the interim, and I could actually function normally and hold a job thanks to the method.
So what was your life like before you started the method? And can you paint us a little picture about your day-to-day life and how epilepsy has affected your day-to-day life?
Yeah, and I have a computer job, so the hardest part for me was with the recent number of episodes was the fact that by 7 a.m. I would have had 7 or 8 seizures, and that would really take my energy away for the rest of the day. I mean, just one seizure typically is enough to put me out for at least a good 4 or 5 hours. I just feel listless and cannot think, cannot do anything physically. And with practicing the Buteyko, I was able to stave off most of those seizures in the morning, and I may have had maybe one later in the day, or there were many days without it too. And I could actually function normally and do things. I still could not drive, but at least for my safety in the house.
So for the most part, I would assume that you weren't living by yourself, correct?
No, my mother was living with me, and it was getting harder with her too because she was able to take care of me less and less. She'd been diagnosed with Alzheimer's too, so there were 2 sick people in the house, and I had to get well in a hurry.
So what was the protocol in place for you? This is again prior to working with the method. What was the doctors telling you, or what was the protocol in place for you to manage your epilepsy?
For many years, they put me on medication, and every time I had a seizure, they would increase the dosage to the point that I was just sleepy all day and I could not function. It's like doing your work with a hangover is basically what it felt like every day. And so it came to a point where I told them it was pointless to have any more medication. They could see that it wasn't helping. And so there was a time when I was not on any medication. They took me off the medication because they found it was doing more damage to my organs than it was worth. So at some stage I had nothing. I did not have the backup of the medication either, and that's when I was looking into the Buteyko method.
And how old were you at that time?
This was 4 or 5 years ago, so I was about 46.
So 46 years living the way that you were living, and it sounds like at that point something turned for you, and maybe it was even prior to that it sounds like you sought out something different, right? You were looking your own and investigating on your own. So what made you decide to do that, to go further than what the doctors were telling you?
I had tried many different alternative methods for very long, including yoga and meditation. Meditation and all did help a lot, but I think the Buteyko finally put the seal on everything.
So how did you find Sasha, and how did you come across and discover the Buteyko method?
I was doing some research online for breathing techniques, and I found, because I was very interested in, within 2 minutes of doing the pranayama, and I was doing this without a teacher, I was just experimenting and doing this in a group with people who were already trained, and within 2 minutes of doing pranayama, I'd had a seizure right there. I was trying to investigate why that happened and what caused it and what the link was between the brain and breathing, and the Buteyko method offered the most information, and I came across it online, and then I began digging deeper. And I started with a consultation with Thomas, and Thomas was my teacher, and later on I studied under Sasha as well, and under both Thomas and Sasha when I did the advanced training.
So tell us a little bit about your experience with the training part.
Training part really furthered my understanding of the process, and actually working with a student helped me learn a lot more. And I think the biggest benefit for me, once the epilepsy was taken care of, I've been seeing a lot of other benefits with the Buteyko method, and I've been able to help people, on a daily basis with little things like improving their running endurance or singing better, because those are all different uses for the method. When I began studying under Thomas and Sasha, I was told to start running a little bit. And I remember I was able to run just a few hundred feet the first time. I was so out of breath, and I didn't think it would happen. And I told them, there's no way I can run. And they said, no, just keep at it and increase your distance a little bit every day, but with the proper breathing. Mm-hmm. And within 2 months, I recall I had run one day for about 45 minutes nonstop. So it was not a physical impediment that was preventing me from running, and that was what opened my eyes. And I probably would have gone longer. The only reason I stopped was my knees were actually buckling.
So that's, I mean, from going from nothing to that, though, is a big feat. What's that time frame, that timeline that you started to see a decrease?
There were different suggestions made for what I should do for a protocol for the Buteyko method, and some took effect immediately, like the very next day, and some took a little longer. And things like the running took a few months, whereas some of the other techniques with the breathing and with some of the non-breathing tips that I was given took effect like from the next day or two.
I recall in the beginning of the conversation you had said multiple seizures a day, and within, let's say, the first 6 months to a year, what was the number of seizures that you were having after starting the training?
About maybe 1 a day or less.
And where are you at today with that?
I've had surgery, so I have no more seizures. And the other thing that the Buteyko method helped with was post-surgery. The doctors had warned us that now that there were no seizures, it could be replaced by a panic attack. Probably what saved me from going into the ER, because I could not breathe and I was all choked up. And I remembered some of Sasha's training on breathing slower and calming my breath. And when you're having a panic attack, that's not the time I can pull out an app on my phone and listen to some meditation, but the breathing took effect immediately.
So what other benefits have you seen for yourself using the method?
I do Kung Fu 3 times a week now, and I'm one of the few people, no matter how intense the exercise, irrespective of how much training there has been or how good I am at it, at least I'm not short of breath because I know when to stop and how to manage my breathing. And I'm also doing some singing lessons, some vocals, and it really helps me hold a note.
No doubt. So as you went all the way with your training, so people can take the level 1 training and use it to apply to their personal life, their personal practice, and if you continue to go on all the way through, you can become certified. And you went all the way. What made you want to continue to deepen your studies?
People kept asking me how I was doing this or how I was doing that, and how are you able to run so long, and what are you doing for your seizures, because I was attending some epilepsy groups and I wasn't sure I could teach them anything or show them anything properly without first being trained myself. And so it's for my own interest that I wanted to deepen my learning, but also to help other people.
How has the Epilepsy Arena, if you will, responded to this and responded to your story?
They've been very interested in it, and they're always curious because just reducing a seizure, even having one seizure less, is a big deal. Because every time, the doctors told me that every time I had a seizure, it could damage my brain. Even if I could not get rid of the epilepsy, just being able to control it better was how I measured the victories. Mm-hmm. And so people are always intrigued, and although a lot of them don't necessarily want to take all the training and do the work, but that's the biggest thing. You have to do the work if you want the benefits.
Do you have any advice for people who are struggling possibly with epilepsy or any health condition? What would your advice be to them in regards to the Buteyko Method?
I would ask them to consider it at least, and at least get a session going, talking with the trainer to see how it can help them and what other people's experience have been with the method in relation to their illness. Because like me, there were I could give someone who's had epilepsy a lot of tips that worked for me. May not necessarily be true in their case, but at least let them know where and how and what a timeline was. So they could get that information from the organization and then do their own research and then come up with a plan on whether or not they want to pursue the method.
So compared to your life, let's say when your 20s or your 30s, and compared to now, what are the biggest differences that you see?
It's improved my day-to-day life because of at work I do so much of talking and leading meetings, and they actually help me talk better, taught me to slow down my talking and the way I breathe with it, so I appear calmer whether or not I am. It's in so many areas. I have to, it's become so automatic now, I have to think about it. But like I said, any type of physical exercise it's helped with. It's helped with singing, it's helped with any type of anxiety or panic attacks. In so many places all over my life that I'm really grateful that I took not just the sessions for me personally, but that I've also have the training and the knowledge to help everyone else.
So you're living by yourself and driving now, which are, and correct me if I'm wrong, are two huge lifestyle differences versus when you were in your, let's say, 20s or 30s.
it's a big change for me, and I'm glad I have all the tools to handle it properly.
Yes, so from going from several seizures a day and unable to live by yourself or drive, having a constant fear of safety for yourself, and then to have taken your journey a little off the road, right? And going to look and investigate what else is out there to help you beyond what you've been given by your doctors, and to open yourself up to something else and be willing to experiment and try. And now I'm hearing you say that you're literally living a completely different life, to be moving and running and active. You're living confidently by yourself, and driving a car. There, to me, that sounds like you've reduced this huge amount of fear in your life and are now really living. And
Yes.
yes, so I think that your story is so valuable to hear, for people to hear, because you can't live without really feeling a sense of confidence and freedom.
Yeah, and people think that, like once I had the surgery, that was the end of it. I should be fine, just jump back into the world. But that's not very easy either. I had to change my perspective and all the opportunities that were available to me, limited thinking. A simple thing like I've been wanting to do martial arts for a long time, and I could not take a class because I would be falling all over. I tried it once and had to stop, but now I can do that. And so I've had to reset all not just my expectations, but all the opportunities available to me, and redo all my goals. And there was a real big process of evaluating everything and a lot of anxiety in my life post-surgery, integrating back into the real world. And the method was invaluable even there. So the benefits never stopped. And I just find many new ways of using it, or it's just in my life everywhere that I cannot but acknowledge it. The best part about the Buteyko method is I don't even need a physical tool to do it, just my nose and my fingers. And I can take it with me everywhere. There's just no excuse to not.
It's all within you.
So that's the biggest benefit. There's no app on my phone I need to switch on. And the minute I feel stressed at work, even multiple times a day, or things are getting hectic, I just take the time to do a little bit of breathing, even for a few minutes or seconds, and it changes everything. One of the best value for your money learnings that you could come across in your life, and I would encourage people, even healthy people, to investigate it and see how they can apply it to, especially athletes or people that are fit and want to get in better shape, because breathing is so much part of exercise. And if you're struggling with anything, look at the method, because I'm sure you'll find multiple ways that it can help you. And if nothing else, at least with the anxiety and managing your day-to-day expectations, with stress and with fear or anxiety, those are big areas that really helps me with.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Teresa, for sharing this time with me and sharing your story.
Thank you. And thank you to the Buteyko Method for really easing up my journey.